Hello, this is Tim Law with Plan It Forward Coaching and Self-Reliance U. Please take a minute and subscribe to my channel, Plan It Forward Coaching on YouTube. Very much appreciated. I am beyond over the moon to be speaking to a young lady that, a few decades ago played on my tennis team up in Hancock, New York. And, just one of these type of student athletes that I had that, we kind of an immediate bond. She's got awesome parents, awesome sister, and, just a great family. And anyway, I'm looking forward to, kind of hearing her story. So welcome, Wendy Gustin Brauneis. I hope I'm saying that right. And fire away there, lady.
Well, first of all, it is so amazing to see you. Oh my gosh, these last couple of weeks that we've reconnected, it's just brought back a flood of memories. And I want to kick off I know a lot of people that subscribe to this know you, but I have to say, looking back, you are probably one of the most patient, tolerant human beings on the face of this planet.
Well, that might be
In order,
debatable, but thank you.
no, seriously, because you put up with more shenanigans and more I don't know how you handled our crew. We had so much fun, but you really always rolled with it and just let each one of us, just express our own personalities. And I feel blessed to have been to have you as a mentor, and you taught me so much about tennis, but about life. And I didn't realize that at the time, but as I've matured, well, I don't know if I've matured, I've gotten older. But I definitely so appreciate the lessons that you taught me. So,
Well, thank you, Wendy. I'm honored that you'd say that and everything. And we did have quite a crew, with Kay Finno, Beth
yeah.
Banks, yourself. Tammy
Oh,
Blumshin was just coming up at that point, and yeah, that was a great crew, a lot of
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
No shortage of humor. In fact, I'm going to throw one back at you right now. I'm not going to say the person's name,
Okay.
but one of the lines you had that absolutely cracked me up totally. We were coming back from Camp Starlight, and there was some guy that was out there riding on his four-wheeler. I don't know if you remember this, as we kind of make the turn to come on 191. And you said, "Oh, so-and-so without his shirt on, hold me back." I'm telling you, I remember that forever because I couldn't stop laughing. And because
Yeah.
this guy wasn't exactly um, all that, I guess I'd say, right? Yeah. Do you
No,
remember what
you
I'm
never
referring to?
know.
Or do you recall that or not?
You know what? I don't,
Okay.
but
When we get off, when we get afterwards, when we're chatting,
okay.
when the recording's off, I'll give you the
Gotcha.
name. I don't want to do that now, in fairness, So
So I thought you were going to tell the story about how when we were coming up with nicknames for everybody, we were having a hard time. I couldn't think of a good nickname for me. And I think it was Amy Hall that
okay.
she was like, oh, it has to be something. And she was trying to figure it out. She was like, it has to be something that says, yeah. And it somehow turned into, I became Wendy the yeah Gustin.
Yes,
And
yes.
I love that. I love that.
I,
I feel like it definitely, Amy nailed it in finding something that also spoke to my personality. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
I would agree. I remember you, all the ladies having those nicknames and everything. And yeah, that was definitely some good times, that's for sure. And you
Yes.
ladies worked hard, but you definitely had some great humor and everything like that going. So tell us about your story, Wendy. Okay, as far as
Yeah. So where I currently am, all of that good
right,
stuff.
right. Well, let me just throw this out here too to the
Okay.
people that are watching. This lady, climbed and conquered Mount Everest. Mind blowing. So I guess I probably should have put that in the introduction. So yeah, that'll be in the title. So don't worry about that. So go ahead there.
I
Wendy.
did. So basically, I currently live in this awesome little town that is actually smaller than Hancock, New York.
Wow.
I live in Ennis, Montana. It's not too far outside of Bozeman, kind of nestled in the mountains, similar to the area where Big Sky is. West Yellowstone is not too far away. So I live in this amazing small little fly fishing town because we're right on the Madison River. And my husband and I, we actually finally went ahead and got married last year.
Mhm.
So my husband and I moved up here from Golden, Colorado, about almost 3 years ago to open up. Well, for multiple reasons. I mean, we loved this area. We wanted to be in Montana. We wanted to be surrounded by rivers and mountains. And so we selected Ennis, Montana based on that. And we have been working incredibly hard over the last couple of years to bought a property, ended up being in the right place at the right time. Our neighbor also added to our property, and we're opening up a small fly fishing outfitting
Wow.
operation. My husband's a guide and actually just recently became an outfitter. And so we'll have some lodging, we'll have some outdoor activities.
Hmm.
We've kind of been trusting the universe and going with
Hmm.
the flow.
Hmm.
And so it's taken a lot of twists and turns along the way. But we will be completely opening up. I would say we're shooting for April 1st and hoping by May 1st it will be fully functional. And be able to have some outdoor adventure, fly fishing, lodging. We have about a half an acre in downtown Ennis.
Hmm.
So I don't have to cook dinner, which is a very good thing. And although I do enjoy cooking, I don't know that I would want it to be, I don't know that I'd want to be compensated for it. So anyway, people will stay with us and be able to visit the downtown area. We have awesome little restaurants. It's just a great little town. So that's what I'm currently doing.
Okay. Good.
In addition to that, though, when we first relocated up here, the thought was to kind of step away from the corporate world. I've had a long career in mostly in the medical device industry. But then what ended up kind of finding me after we got here, I ended up jumping back into the corporate world just this last fall and have recently become the VP of sales and US operations for a software company that is based out of Norway. So I'm kind of working 2 full-time jobs at the moment. And luckily, it works out that I can do the majority of what I need to do over the weekends for mine and Keith's business. And then during the week, I have my corporate job as well. And I have a software that works with emergency response plans and incident management. So not a whole lot has changed. I tend to take on a lot, and it's okay. Like that's just the way it needs to be for me. I do a lot of things, but it's great. We're building something for ourselves at the same time that I have a whole sales team that I'm putting together and helping this Norwegian company called Raven to develop their software. So it's a good thing. Life is good.
Good. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah. So I'm really excited. I'll be 50 this year.
Oh, stop. I can't believe that. That doesn't seem possible.
50 this coming November. And
you look like you're 25, Wendy. So yeah.
Well, I still feel like I'm, a 15, 16-year-old kid bouncing around on the activities bus. It just I think sometimes your mentality doesn't have to change just because you get older, and mine certainly hasn't. So that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, and having that passion, enthusiasm for life, because every day is a gift. Let's face it. By the time you've hit, 40 or 50, we've all seen, people pass at an unusually, young age. A lot of times we don't necessarily see that as children or whatever, but as we get older, we've all seen, seen that. So yeah, you're right. Every day is a gift. So, any direction you want to go here, tell me about your, if you want to go in the direction of your preparation for Everest or the climb itself. I mean, I'm still just flabbergasted by the, everything that you've done there.
Sure. So there's so many places I could start. I think maybe with getting started on how I even got into climbing, that might be a good thing. I was always so involved in sports. I was always an athlete. I played tennis through the fall, basketball through the winters, softball through the spring, and kind of all of the above through summers. I did not end up playing a sport in college, which I really wish I had. I think, I don't have many regrets in life, but that's when looking back on it, I wish I would have pursued something more at that level.
So what college did you go to, Wendy?
I went to Kutztown University in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yep. And so, it was just kind of one of those things. I remained very active in intramural sports. I was actually a student supervisor of an outdoor facility there, so I didn't choose one to play, but it was involved in all of them, throughout college. And then post college, I kind of got into running for a while. And then, my personality, I don't tend to do anything just a little bit. And so running turned into marathons,
Mhm.
and then the injuries started coming. I don't have a runner's physique. I don't have a runner's stride.
Mhm.
I kind of have a very heavy strike, and could never really train myself to not run without, beating up my knees and ankles and everything else. And so when I got into my 30s, it became very evident that I should not be running. And
Mhm.
so that transitioned into hiking. And then as I started hiking and, started getting involved in that world, a very good friend of mine asked me to come to a speaking event with her. That she said, we're going to hear my other friend, Trent, talk about she climbed Mount Everest. And I was like, surely it was not Mount Everest that she climbed. I'm like, are you sure it was Mount Everest? And she was like, no, seriously, like my friend Trent, I go camping with her. She climbed Mount Everest. You have to come hear her talk. And sure enough, we get there. And she was in 2003, she was the 12th American female to have ever summited. She's this
Wow.
amazing woman. She is a female firefighter in San Diego. I was living in Southern California at the time. And I was in awe of her.
Mhm.
The entire presentation, I initially was watching her slides,
Mhm.
but then it kind of shifted. I had this feeling kind of growing in me, like I could do that. Like I've got to do this. And then I started watching her expression as she was presenting her slides, and what I saw in her face, I said, I need to feel that. I will do this. And
Mhm.
I turned to my friend Cindy and I was like, I could do that. I'm going to do this. And she's like, whatever. Okay. And this was in 2007.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. Right before I left for Everest, she messaged me on Facebook and was kind of like, hey, I was there when this all came together. Like, I remember, why. I know why this is happening. So it took 10 years. But yeah, so it was in 2007, in March of 2007, that I heard her speaking.
Mhm.
And again, my personality. By September of that year, I summited Kilimanjaro in
Wow.
Africa.
Wow.
So I kind of like threw myself. I'd already been a hiker, and I worked out a lot. Like it was part of my daily routine to stay physically fit.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I very quickly got all prepared because from March until September, and luckily it worked out with what I was doing at the time work wise, that I could take off. And when I went to Kilimanjaro, on my way back, I'll never forget this. I was coming back and I called my parents from one of the airports that I was connecting through
Mhm.
to let them know that I was fine, that, everything was good. And, I was so excited about the climb. And my mom, she was just like, just don't tell me that now, don't call me up and tell me you're climbing Everest. And I was like, I kind of been, the idea got into my head at that point in 07. By 08, I had opened up a bank account to start saving for it, because it is somewhat of a you have to
Sure.
prepare a lot financially. I didn't know when exactly it would happen, but what I did know is that if I trained every day and started mentally preparing,
Mhm.
and started saving, I knew that the things that I could control, I needed to control. And the
Sure.
things that I couldn't control, I didn't know exactly when I would be in a position to take the time off of work to do it.
Mhm.
But I just started preparing myself to be ready at the drop of a hat to just up and go if the opportunity presented itself.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Very good.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I climbed a lot of mountains
Now,
from
how high is Kilimanjaro, Wendy?
it's over 19. It's like
Okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 19,318,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
19,3, I
And once you
believe.
get above, what is it, above about 18 or 20, then the oxygen's pretty thin at those points, right?
Yeah, I mean, you need to allow your body to acclimate as you
Mhm.
go. So as you're increasing in elevation, about every 1,000 feet, so it's different for everybody.
Right.
Like, there's some people that have a hard time with 8 and 9,000 feet, ten
Mhm.
thousand feet. It really just depends on how your body reacts to the elevation. You need to start using the cutoff for oxygen is somewhere right around 24,
Okay.
25,000,
Okay.
where it becomes a concern that your body, your cells, your brain cells,
Mhm.
your body starts deteriorating
Mhm. Yeah.
at those
Now, did you
levels.
take oxygen when you went up there,
On
Mount
Everest.
Everest?
Everest, yes, absolutely. We
Okay.
there was at one point we went as high. We were just a little below 24,000.
Mhm.
Spent some time there without oxygen, but the next time we got to that camp, when we went up to actually do the summit push,
Right.
we went on oxygen continuously after 24,000 feet, until we came back down.
Okay. Okay. And now, when you bring the oxygen up or that type of thing, I mean, was it like bottles of oxygen? How much does that stuff weigh? Obviously, you've got a backpack trying
Yeah.
to, climb that summit. I mean, it's crazy.
And luckily, I only had to carry one container at a canister at a time.
Okay.
I cannot say enough about the Nepalese, you've heard of the term Sherpa.
The Sherpas. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. There were porters, there were like, they are just amazing people that really take incredible care of the climbers.
Uh-huh.
And, so once you go on continuous oxygen, you only have to carry the canister that you have in your pack. And
Wow.
I don't remember the weight on that. I mean, I, with my water and the supplies that I had, once we got to, certain elevations, I don't think I was carrying more than like 15 to 20 pounds.
Yeah. But
And probably not
you're
even
still
that much.
climbing though, even with that
Yeah.
weight, Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on climbs before. I also climbed Denali, which I think you knew,
Uh-huh.
Mount McKinley.
Right.
So I climbed Denali the year before Everest, and that I don't think that I was ever in a better physical shape than when I was preparing for Denali, because I had to carry all my own weight. So you have a pack and then you're pulling a sled behind
Wow.
you. And I probably had about anywhere from 120 to 130 pounds that I
Wow.
had to carry that all the way up to 18,000 feet. And Everest, oftentimes climbers will say that Denali is a little bit more difficult than Everest in that you don't have these amazing people taking such good care of you. You have to do it all yourself.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. I mean, so basically, we kind of started talking about the different peaks that I climbed in preparing for Everest. I ended up summiting Kilimanjaro, as I mentioned, Aconcagua, which is the highest point in South America. It's in
Okay.
Argentina. I climbed, oh my gosh, also in South America. Did some big climbs in Bolivia to get a little more technical training on glaciers and more mountaineering training.
Mhm.
Also in Ecuador, Mexico. And then the year before I did Everest, I went up to Alaska. I moved to Colorado specifically to train for it from Southern California, and climbed all kinds of mountains in Colorado. Some a little more technical, some not. If I could, get the time off of work and find a mountain, I was usually at the top of it.
Well, let me ask you this, Wendy. I mean, I love that. This is awesome. Um, as far as, let's say, teens or young adults, what are some of the lessons that you or advice that you would give to people of that age, that are either they're going to college or military or work?
Yep.
how to be successful out in the workforce, or as they're navigating into adulthood. What would be some of the main things that you'd like to share with them?
So you and I have had some conversations around grit,
Mhm,
and passion. And um, I would say to really follow your heart. If you have a goal, no
mhm,
matter how big it is, um, you you look at that goal and you think about what are the controllables. So I'm a big fan of the motto: control the controllables,
mhm.
and don't spend your time and energy worrying so much about the things that you can't control. So like when I decided I was going to climb Everest, at the time that I got that gut feeling, that I knew in that moment when I listened to Trent talk about Everest, I knew that someday I was going to be standing on the summit. And at the time, it wasn't an ideal job situation. I wasn't making that much money.
Mhm,
I had a lot of things going on in my life. And I decided that if I'm going to get there, I need to think about the things that I can control. I
mhm,
can control what food I put in my mouth to give me the energy that I need to train, how I train, how I prepare myself mentally. If I stopped and spent all of my time mentally thinking about the things that were out of my control, of course I was never going to end up on the summit.
sure.
And I want to come back to this, make sure we come back to this, because that mental preparation, you were a huge part of teaching me how to do that in my life. So we need to come back to that one in a minute. But and the really big one that I feel is so important, that I want young kids to really think about, is that the people that you surround yourself with, the people that you listen to, the messages that you listen to, you want to surround yourself with good, positive energy, good, positive people. You don't want for someone to respond like, oh, you'll never be able to do that.
Mhm,
If you believe in yourself and you really have that gut feeling, like, I know someday I'm going to be able to do this,
mhm.
just think about the things that you can control and really focus on that, and have faith that all of those other things are going to fall into place.
Fantastic, fantastic. So well said, Wendy. All right, you get to the top of Everest. Obviously, talk about a unbelievable moment. And I can see it lighten up even more. You're always
Yeah.
lit up, but you're definitely really lit up on this one. What
Yeah.
was that like to be up there and looking at you're at the highest point on the face of the earth? What was that like?
It's so funny because as it got closer and closer, like once, I mean, on that particular day, there were a couple of little hangups. Everest is kind of famous for things getting bottlenecked and backed up, and people being stalled out in lines of people waiting to get to the top. And luckily there were just a couple of those along the way. But like when you got to the point where like you could really see the summit, and it was so close, and I felt so good, and I knew there was nothing keeping me from being there. I just it's a feeling of being so overwhelmed with all kinds of emotion.
Mhm.
I could feel my heart rate is like increasing right now just thinking about it. For me, it was 10 years of every single decision that I made, whether I was consciously aware of it or not, was about achieving this.
Mhm.
And it's almost kind of like, as it was getting closer and closer, what am I going to think about now? you
Right,
know,
right, yeah.
in a way that's kind of going through your brain. And
Mhm.
at the same time that that's going through your brain, like it is it's like this emotion unlike anything I've ever felt before. And your mind is just kind of racing. And I just kind of reached back. I grabbed my guide's hand, and I just like squeezed it so tight. Um, so yeah, it's I don't even know how to describe it really, to put it into words other than to say that.
Yeah.
And then once I got up there, it was weird because I didn't really think of this when I was on my way up there. I was very fortunate in that some of the other groups that took off from our high camp from the South Call, they had started much earlier than we had. So part of our hang up that day was waiting for the groups that had summited earlier to come back down.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like there's certain parts that it's almost like a one way, like you have a hard time if there's people trying to go both ways on the fixed lines. So I was very fortunate in that there weren't a ton of other people that were up at the summit at the same time I was. And it was really important to me. There's kind of like this bench, and I wanted to be able to say that, like, for just a couple of moments, that I was physically the highest person in the entire world. Like, when can you say that, right? You know, and without being in an airplane, obviously. But yeah, there was a moment where the other teams kind of like stepped down. There was really only like one other team at this point that were kind of up there, and I just jumped up on the tippy top, and my guide said to me, "How do you feel?" And all I could do was I just threw my arms in the air, and I couldn't even speak. I was just overwhelmed.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, how long, obviously with those other people coming up behind you, how long did they allow you to kind of stay on the summit before you have to start to go back down the other way?
So, I mean, we were up there for a good like 30, 35 minutes, something like that. And again, it's not really, there's no one there to really govern it or police it or anything like that. You need to be wise with your oxygen supply. If there were a lot of other people up there at the same time, we probably wouldn't have been able to stay up there for that long. But I felt like I just I kept taking so many pictures because I was afraid that I might miss a particular angle. Like, I just wanted to absorb every single possible angle of it that I possibly could. So yeah, you know, and it just depends. I felt so good. I felt strong. You have to be really careful with mountaineering. Oftentimes people actually end up getting hurt on the way down, not on the way up.
That's what I've heard. I've heard that descent can be very dangerous. I don't know, maybe because of the exuberance and the exhilaration or whatever. And, you know, I guess maybe a certain level of carelessness might set in. I'm guessing.
It's so important to make sure that you have enough in the tank, if you know what I mean. Because, you know, and that's why you need to be with the right team. You need to be with the right people to be able to recognize the signs. I felt that throughout the day, I just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And then, you know, you have all this adrenaline pumping through you. You know, oftentimes having that spike in adrenaline, you know, you need to understand your body and understand how your body's going to react to that. Because if you have that spike and then all of a sudden you use up that gas tank, you know, you still have, we left the South Call, Camp 4. We left our highest camp at about 9:30 at night.
Okay.
Summited at 6:30 in the morning.
Okay.
And then had to go back down, and it took us until 10:30 in the morning. So from 9:30 at night until 10:30 the next morning, you know, you're exerting yourself a lot. And believe me, the oxygen really, like, I mean, there are very few people that do this without oxygen.
Right.
I'm certainly not one. I don't think, I mean, I don't know. I probably wouldn't try it. I'm not an adrenaline junkie where I like to toe the line. I like to experience amazing things, but you know, I don't know that I'd ever be up there without oxygen. So that definitely helps you along the way. Absolutely. Physically, mentally, all of it. But you know, you just really have to listen to your body and watch for signs. Because if on your way up, you're not allowing for the energy that you need to come back down, that's when you put yourself in danger, but more importantly, you put other people in danger.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes total sense, Wendy. That definitely. So anyway, now what was the date that you actually, I think it was 2017. Was that the year?
Yes.
And what was the actual date?
It was May 22nd in Nepal. It was May 21st in the US because there's the time difference.
Gotcha.
So when I summited at 6:30 in the morning over there, it was actually more like 6:30 at night ish here in the States,
Right,
or
right, I see.
in Colorado anyway. I lived in Colorado at the
So
time.
what did, I know you came and you did a presentation, I think in Honesdale,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, Northeast PA. What was the reaction of the people in Hancock and Northern Wayne County when the word of this got around? You know, it had to be just incredible.
The support was amazing. I mean, just the whole time. My cousin, who I'm very close with, is a school teacher and taught second grade, and her entire class started kind of following it like as I was leaving.
Mhm.
I talked with them as I was packing and got to show them all of my equipment and everything through a Zoom meeting. And then while I was there, like just the whole time, I had a blog through the company that I went with,
Mhm.
and they followed my every step. And then right when I was about to leave, I mean, talk about support and talk about these little voices just carrying me to the top.
Sure.
They recorded a song,
Mhm.
The Climb by Miley Cyrus. And they sang it for me, and my cousin sent it to me. At base camp, I had Wi-Fi. And
Uh-huh.
so the last thing I got to see before I cut off communication with the rest of the world in order to summit was this second grade class singing to me. That was just, having something like that, having that kind of support, it gives you that extra little oomph.
Sure.
So I mean, people from Hancock, people from all over northeastern Pennsylvania, people in Colorado, the support that I had was just absolutely amazing. And they, each place did a couple of news stories
Mhm.
on it. Like I had no idea. For me, it was just always something that I knew that I needed to do for me. I really had no idea the effect that it would have on other people.
Mhm.
And, some of these young girls, I have a very close friend that has a daughter that she's been very supportive of my climbing for years now. She always makes me signs, and she made me a flag for Everest.
Mhm.
And just being that role model for a young girl and hearing them say, Wendy just says I have to believe in myself, or Wendy says this or Wendy says that. It's like, oh my God, I had no idea that I was having that effect on someone's life to
Yeah.
be a mentor for them. And that just makes me so happy.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, great, great story, Wendy. Any other things to add in there? You talked about the mental training or mental toughness
So
or whatever you want to bring that
I
up.
do, because when you and I first started about having this call, and I started thinking about, you were asking me when did I start preparing for it, and so the obvious answer to that is, I kind of started preparing when I saw Trent talk about it in 2007, but
Mhm.
then I really started thinking about when did I learn grit? When did I learn about being passionate about something and having the dedication to my passions? And, I just feel like Hancock had such an amazing group of coaches that taught me passion at a very young age. And you absolutely, like, the things that I learned from you. So, you taught us about the power of positive thinking, and about focus, and about mentally visualizing yourself accomplishing things, right? So before our tennis matches, and I don't know if anyone's talked about this much before, but those subliminal waves that
Mhm.
you would have us, you taught us that yes, you have to train physically, but anything you do, it is equally important to have the right mental mindset. And so, I got thinking about that and everything that I learned from you playing on your tennis team. I mean, and Coach Nyberg, I mean, God, how passionate was that guy, right?
Oh,
Like
incredible. Henry's
oh
a great
my God,
guy.
may he rest in peace. I just love that
Yes.
man, Henry Nyberg. Ah,
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful
so
guy. Yeah.
the things that I learned from him, he was not only passionate about basketball, but about his team, and he really cared about his team. And gosh, Coach Watkins,
Mhm.
softball, like I just really started thinking about all of the influence that all these people had, on top of, watching my mom and dad,
Mhm.
and they've created this family business, growing up around two people that started with nothing at all.
Mhm.
And, we have a great family business that my sister and brother-in-law and niece and nephews and, cousins, and I have all these people involved in this family business. Growing up around that, like it's because it's from all of these people that I learned passion and learned grit, and learn that if you really want something, it might take some time. Um, you might not be the fastest hiker, or you might not be the, but if you have the dedication and you put one foot in front of the other and you have the right attitude, you can accomplish it.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for my small town upbringing and being around so many amazing role models. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, certainly fantastic being able to, catch up with you here, Wendy. Just it's something I wanted to, this was the one interview I really wanted to get. Make sure you listen to some of the other ones on there.
I have. Yeah, I sure have.
Okay.
Yep.
And, I definitely want to stay in touch, and we will, hopefully continue the conversation. No reason why not. Your only assignment
Absolutely.
I have for you is make sure you give my very best to your wonderful mom and dad and sister,
I
and
will.
to Joe
Yes.
Bannicky, who years ago
My
coached him in
bro-in-law.
football. Yep.
Yeah.
And anyway, appreciate it very much. If you could just hang on for just a second, once we're done here,
Yep.
we'll I'll knock the recording off and we'll chat for another minute or two.
Great. And I
Anyway,
also want to throw out there, Coach, that if there's any young athlete or student or anyone that just wants to talk through, kind of some of the mental prep, the physical
mhm,
prep, any of it, if they have a goal that they want to achieve, and it doesn't have to be climbing Mount Everest, obviously, it can be other things. I'm more than happy to be a mentor. So they
wonderful.
can reach out to me through you.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, we'll definitely take you up on that. I'm coaching the guys and girls tennis team here at this school, Northeastern, here in York County, Manchester, Pennsylvania, and up until a few years ago, coach wrestling as well, and love
Mhm.
all the sports, and just fantastic. And ironically, I've got a girl that just played tennis for me. Her main sport was softball. Anyway, she is going to West Point, and she's going to play softball there. Her name is Giselle Castano. Great girl, super
Fantastic.
coachable, great family. Another girl I had, Jillian Lockman, she started only playing tennis as a freshman. She won the county championship as a senior. I mean, just some mind blowing, developments. Our boys team, the 2019 kids before COVID, they went to 14-1 and third in the district down here. I mean, just so many kids I'm so very proud of. And it was young people such as yourself, on the girls team, because that's what we had there at the time, that we, you learn so many lessons, and a lot of it, like you say, is you want to work hard, but you want to have some fun and enjoyment too. And as I said early on, you ladies definitely brought out the humor. There was no question about that. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Well, I'm glad that you found it humorous and not too
Yes, yes.
annoying.
What was it? What was the choice, Wendy? I mean,
Well, that's true.
it's
That's
the best
true.
stress reliever in the world is humor. That's for sure. And I think you'd agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And
Okay.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for letting me relive it. So every time I talk about it, I get to relive it myself. So that was great.
I can tell, and I'll conclude here and just please encourage anybody watching this to subscribe to my Playing It Forward Coaching YouTube channel. And Wendy, I appreciate you very, very much, and we will stay in touch.
Sounds great.
Thank you.